going on, everybody? Josh Engleman for Awesemo.com, and this is my FanDuel single game breakdown for tonight's Sunday Night Football matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all of our other content goes live. Let me know in the comment section, who are your favorite options for MVP and for the flex? As of right now, the average score in this game in a single game contest, 95.9 fantasy points. The median salary used, $58,500. So you definitely have the opportunity to leave some money on the table. 2.7 San Francisco 49ers in the optimal lineup. 2.3 Philadelphia Eagles. So we're leaning a little bit towards the Niners. That's not much of a surprise. 49ers, 7.5 point favorites in this spot. A 45-point total. This looks like a pretty good one. I'm hoping the Eagles can snap out of their little funk because I play way too many Eagles to begin with. We'll see where that ends up. I think now we dive into the MVPs. Let's do it. All right, so starting at the MVP spot, I think we have three pretty clear options out of the gate. Nick Mullins, Carson Wentz, Miles Sanders. I don't think that I'm telling anybody anything that they don't already know. 62.4% of the time, the MVP will be one of those three guys. Now, Nick Mullins is outpacing everybody. 26.6% of the time, Nick Mullins is the optimal MVP. He is the most expensive player at $15K, but I don't see a reason to get away from him unless his ownership is problematic. After that, we're kind of flipping a coin between Carson Wentz and Miles Sanders. I have them with the exact same projection. Wentz $500 more expensive. So this is, again, going to be the ownership game. I would prefer the guy that's owned less as we get closer to lock. But Mullins, Wentz, and Sanders are definitely the first three guys you should be looking at. After that, I'm going to a two-headed monster. I either want to go Jerick McKinnon or Jeff Wilson. Having some trouble sifting between the two. McKinnon at 12K, Jeff Wilson at 11K. I just don't know how much that extra salary really buys you. I do have Wilson slightly higher projected, but the long story short, they're both around 7% in terms of their likelihood of being the top MVP. They are the two best guys outside of that top tier of three. I don't really love the idea of getting to anybody else at the MVP spot. Now, as we move on to the flex spot, a lot of this will sound the same. Mullins, Wentz, Sanders, pretty clearly the top three options at the flex. If you don't have one of those guys at the MVP, you probably want like two of them at the flex. Jeff Wilson, as I mentioned before, slightly higher MVP odds, but he is actually fourth in terms of likelihood of being in the optimal spot at the flex, 37% of the time. McKinnon's kind of close. Robbie Gould at 9K, 28% of the time in the flex spot. I think he looks pretty good. The guy that I have a little bit of trouble going to would be George Kittle. Now, clearly, he's fantastic, but 13.5 on FanDuel. Not the best projection, and Miles Sanders is only $500 more expensive. I have Miles Sanders 3.5 points ahead of him, so Sanders shows up significantly more. Unless Kittle's ownership is wildly low, he's a guy that I think will lose out to additional ownership to Sanders or additional ownership to Zach Ertz. Ertz $1,000 cheaper than Kittle. I only have them separated by 0.7 of a fantasy point. Ertz actually shows up in the flex spot slightly more often than George Kittle. So if I'm picking between tight ends, I'd rather go to Ertz. Again, I mentioned Robbie Gould looks okay at 9K. Jake Elliott, Brandon Ayuk, no problems there. They're like 20% type guys. The guy that you need to pay attention to, the guy that you want to go to if you're trying to pay up in a couple spots, that would be John Hightower. He's 5K, so he is the flat minimum salary on FanDuel. 6.7 fantasy points is his projection for me right now, but that puts him in the optimal flex lineup spot 24% of the time. Going to John Hightower should open you up to a lot of additional spending at the top end. The guys that are more likely to be in the lineup frequently, the 30% plus type guys. Hightower opens that up to you. He is the guy that I'm looking to pay down for. If I'm going anywhere at the bottom, anywhere in that 6K below range, it's definitely Hightower. Deontay Burnett would be second, but he's not particularly close. Now, I don't have too much to add in terms of fades because we don't have public ownership yet. being able to fade people is fully dependent on ownership. If you told me that Nick Mullins was 100% owned, I wouldn't want him. If you told me Nick Mullins was 0% owned, I would want all of the Nick Mullins. So ownership plays a huge role in whether or not I want to fade someone. But I can tell right out of the gate, Deebo Samuel, whether that's MVP or the flex spot, making his return, 10K, that's not going to be for me. I don't expect to get to much Samuel. That is a fade. I think Greg Ward, a little bit overpriced. That's largely a fade to me. I'm not a huge fan of Kendrick Bourne at 7,500. Again, he's fine. If you're playing 150 lineups, you probably end up with, 10-ish% of him. If those ownership numbers get significantly higher than that, it makes it really easy to get away. Alrighty, folks, that will do it. That is my FanDuel single game breakdown for the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Once again, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you know when this and all of our other content goes live. Please let me know in that comment section who are your favorite options at MVP and at the flex, and follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman so you can get updates to these sim results as we get closer to lock. Now, I will be on NBA Live before lock tonight, not an NFL show, but we will have an NFL show for you guys, so check that out. Stay tuned to Twitter or be in our premium Slack so you can get updates a little bit more frequently. Good luck tonight, guys, and I will see you again for Monday night's video.